In this video, we're going to discuss the use of Linux and a tool called VirtualBox. When you're learning a new type of system, it's convenient to have a way to explore and work on the new system without abandoning the environment you feel most comfortable with. Since the tutorial track is about learning Linux, you'll want a way to interact with a Linux system without completely erasing your starting system while you learn at your own pace. One way to do this is with virtualization. Virtualization is a technology that allows for multiple guest operating system images to run on a single piece of actual computing hardware. The hardware might be a large server with lots of CPUs and memory to run many guests at the same time, or it could be your desktop or laptop that can run one or maybe two guests without impacting your other work. There are several different tools for working with local virtual systems on your personal workstation. They aren't necessarily the same suites of tools that would be used in large environments, but the principles are the same. For a virtualized environment, you need the host system, which provides the hardware, a virtualization tool, and some set of system images that you can boot up as guests. These images might be large, maybe up to 5 gigs, but usually don't represent the most exhaustive version of the operating system. Some packages will usually be left out, but they are full systems. VirtualBox images are a kind of virtual hard drive that you download, and it contains basically the entire operating system, just like the hard drive of your computer. For our purposes, we won't need a lot of graphical user interfaces. We'll be focusing on accessing Linux the way you would if you were running it in a remote server farm over SSH. So let's take a look at the virtualization tool that you can use on your system. It's called VirtualBox, and it's available at virtualbox.org. VirtualBox is a good learning tool because it's free, and you can use it on a variety of systems. If you already have a Windows or Macintosh laptop or desktop, you can boot up a Linux environment without sacrificing your original system. To install VirtualBox, you'll need administrative privileges to install software. Choose the correct version of VirtualBox for your operating system type. Download the installer, and when the download finishes, click or double-click to install it. Save that. It's not a very large package, so you shouldn't have much trouble downloading it. VirtualBox will have a graphical installer. You can double-click it to install it, and we'll let that go. VirtualBox installs on your system as an application that you can run. It has a graphical interface that allows you to manage the virtual guests on your system. Once you have VirtualBox installed, you'll need an image to run as a guest. You can create your own images from DVDs or downloaded install images, or you can download a runnable image from a number of different repositories. These images come ready to import into VirtualBox, so you don't have to wait to install them. If you wanted to do an installer, you can click on the new icon, and then there's a set of windows that will walk you through actually doing the installation. So you go through all of the steps, whether it is picking packages or working through all of the installation configurations and passwords and all that kind of thing. That's going to take as much time as it normally would for a regular operating system. Instead, we have these downloaded images. I have a couple already in here. And if I want to add another one, I can go to Machine and then Add. And I have some already. So I have VirtualBox VM's subdirectory in my home directory, and I have a couple of images that I've downloaded in the past. Some of them are already here. So I can select one. You'll see this VBox file. That's the primary file that VirtualBox will use to run these images. Once the box image has been ported into VirtualBox, I can double click it to run it. And it opens up in another window here. Basically, VirtualBox is reading the image and booting it up as another machine. You might get some messages about software that VirtualBox uses on the guest system, but usually it's okay. It might tell you about using the mouse or other input devices. Some images will have graphical interfaces and others won't. When you use VirtualBox, you'll get this separate interface where the guest machine is running. You can log in directly. This will be true if the guest is Linux or Windows or some other system. VirtualBox in that way is very flexible. So if you want to use it to run something other than Linux, you can usually do that. When you download these images, you want to make sure that you know the username and password that come along with them. And that's generally published with the image itself, so you'll have instructions on how to actually get into the system. I want to be able to log into this machine remotely via the network, just as I would if it were in a data center somewhere not on my local machine. VirtualBox creates a local-only virtual network on my system so that I can access the other guests without worrying about IPs on the primary network. It also takes care of network routing and DNS for the guest hosts so they can access the internet. I want to be able to access this over the network using text-only sessions via SSH. SSH is an encrypted remote connection service for use over networks. It's also called the secure shell. It allows me to log on to the host securely from a remote location, so I could be halfway around the world from this box and be able to log in. VirtualBox will show me where the guest network is connected via its GUI. So if I go to Devices and then Network and Network Settings, I'm going to click on Port Forwarding, and it tells me I have SSH as a protocol that it will forward. The host IP is my local loopback address. The host port on my laptop is 2200, and then the guest port here is 22. So anytime I connect to this IP address on this port, it will pass it directly to this guest on port 22, and I won't have to know anything else about the network here. So I'll save that. From a virtual terminal on my laptop, I can connect via the command line because I'm using a Mac and SSH is built in. For most versions of Windows, you can use a third-party SSH client called PUTTY, or just stick with the graphical window that VirtualBox pops up for you. To log into my new guest from the command line, I need the username and password, which I just used to log in on that console, and then I need that port that's listed in the interface. And I can SSH. I put the username and the loopback address, and then little p. And now you can see I have two users logged into this machine. One is logged in on TTY1, which is the local console. The other one's located on PTS0, which is then from a remote network address here. There are other settings and configurations that the VirtualBox GUI will let me adjust. The space allocated to the guest, the amount of memory it's permitted to use, and even if it should be allowed to have access to the hardware on the laptop. When I'm done using this virtual, I can shut it down and come back to it later via a couple of methods. There's a pause and a save. So if I hit the control on my Mac and click, I have a submenu here that will allow me to work with this particular virtual guest. So right now I'm going to close it and I'm going to power it off. And in this case, it doesn't save a lot of things. You can see some of those messages that popped up there. And then it also logs off my remote connection because the machine is no longer running, so the connection is closed. Another feature of VirtualBox is the ability to snapshot the state of a virtual guest. Snapshots allow you to boot a vanilla image, maybe you've downloaded from the internet, customize it however you'd like, and then create a partial image based on the configurations that you can reset to if you need to. They aren't fully formed images. They are like save points in a video game. You can go back to some point in the past and the things you've changed in the meantime are gone. Snapshots are helpful if you are working on complex configurations, need to write some things out, and you're not sure how it's going to go. You can create snapshots as often as you like, though be aware that they take up hard drive space. You can see some of the other things that are available. I can attach to the audio if I'd like, the USB. I can even publish shared folders to this particular machine if I'd like to. So these would be files that are on my hard drive that are in sort of my user space that I can then publish to the remote guest. You can also clone virtual hosts, creating a new image based on the current state of your host. Any image that isn't running can be cloned into a new image. The new images can then be used however you'd like. So you can use them to create sort of more baselines for different components in your stack. If you have middleware layer that runs Java and some stuff, or you have a backend layer that has your databases on it, you can create a master starting place and then clone them into different components. You can use VirtualBox for a number of things, and it's a popular tool for developers to use when testing out their code. You'll find lots of available images on the internet that will help you learn Linux. So places that you can look for more images include osboxes.org. You can take a look there for images of different Linuxes and other kinds of systems. When you're finished with your virtual host, you shut it down, you can turn off VirtualBox. Now you have an environment that will help you work with Linux without sacrifice to your regular working system. So hopefully that will help you have a good environment to start working on the rest of these videos.